Alright, the next part of my little farewell tour to Toys R Us is the Mech X4 robot. Mech X is a toy line that I always kind of seen on the shelves, which kind of made me think of like if Disney XD sort of wanted to do an adaptation of Pacific Rim, but couldn't get the licensing or something, because the monster designs and the mecha designs look very similar to Pacific Rim in my opinion. So yes, as you can see, this is the basic blue model. They have this thing in like 3 or 4 different color variants. Like there's a transparent version for invisibility, an army camo version, a gray version, and the blue and gold one, which seems to be the default because I've seen larger versions of this toy that the others didn't get. And of course, he has a very distinct X motif in his armor, not only on his chest, but also in his hip skirts and shoulder pads. So the figure has some pretty good articulation. The head can swivel left and right. The hips are only on swivel joints, so they don't go outwards. And when they move, they take this part of the skirt armor. Fortunately, it doesn't seem that the skirt armor gets in the way. The knees go almost 90 degrees, and he has ball-jointed ankles. A little bit loose ball-jointed ankles, actually, but they are ball-jointed. It almost seems weird that they're ball-jointed because if you have ball-jointed ankles, you would expect that to be accommodating outward hip movement, which, as I mentioned, this thing doesn't have. So you can actually have him, you know, pose like he's taking a step or crouch down, ready to jump. So there is some posability in the legs, which is useful, and I guess even though technically you only would have needed forward and backward swivels, I guess it is pretty cool to have ball joints down there. And he does have a waist joint. I wasn't expecting this thing to have a waist joint, but it does. The arms are pretty good. He has outwards movement on a pin disc, as well as rotation. They rotate up until they get stopped by the shoulder armor. And he has elbows, really tight elbows, which get a good solid 90. And there's wrist movement. The hand also comes out easily. I think it's to accommodate a weapon swap gimmick or something. And the other arm, despite the fact that it's longer to accommodate this axe, is pretty much exactly the same way. And this axe does remove. Yep. It comes out. That way I guess you can have like a blaster arm, or again, to accommodate a weapon swapping gimmick. In the package, the axe actually is kept wrapped up in a bubble above his head. It's not actually in his hand until you put it in there, which again reinforces the weapon swap idea. So yeah, you got a pretty decently well articulated, good looking robot toy, and I guess that's all you could really want, right? I mean, people like giant robots, kids like mechas, so there you go. Even when it was not on deep discounts, this thing retailed for only $10, so it's not like it's super expensive. So it's an easy robot thing to get, and it's pretty solid and sturdily built, so you can give it to a kid and not have them break it. So it's kind of the perfect toy to give to a young boy. Here, the back of it is yeah, you know, like how in the packaging you only see the front of an action figure, so sometimes toy companies will get cheap on their paint and only paint the front and leave the back unpainted. That's kind of the situation we got going on here. I've never actually seen the Mech X4 cartoon, so I don't know what the mechs look like from behind, but I like to think that there's some detailing on there. Unless the cartoon actually did accommodate the toy companies by just not having any details on the back of the characters. That would be kind of hilarious. But, you know, from the front the figure looks really good, and at least I like how there's like gold highlights around the cockpit window in the face, and they put black striping in the yellow parts. So it's not like they went really lazy on the paint job. I'd say it's on par with what they do for Transformers or anything Bandai's done for the Power Rangers. So you know what, I'll let it slide. This is a good little robot toy, and like I said, you can still find them in most places that sell toys, so I could easily recommend going out and finding this thing. It's cheap, it's inoffensive, and I have no idea what the show is like, but I'm guessing it's sort of like a cartoon version of Pacific Rim, which, you know, Pacific Rim's awesome, so why not? Alright, so that was part 2 of my farewell tour to Toys R Us, and let's move on to a slightly bigger set.